Alright guys, so I'm picking up where I left off kind of. This is going to be the third video. The first one we did the Fab 4. So what we mark our charts with before the market even opens. The very first step to do is to find the Fab 4. The last 45 minutes of price, the highest point of that, the lowest point of that. Highlight that area with a box and make sure that the SMAs, the 20 SMA and the 200 SMA, are inside of that box. So that means that they would naturally have to be in a narrowish or a neutralist state to get them inside of that box. Okay. The second video we did was the entry event video where I showed you guys the entry events that I look for: tail bars, 180s, engulfings, power bars, all of that. So if you didn't watch that one, go to the second video. Now this one I'm going to kind of show you how to put it together with the SMAs. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is we identify our zone, and we've done that. That's the Fab 4, right? So we identify the zone by using the prior day's price action, the last 30 minutes or so. I do 45 usually just to be safe. So I know my PDF says 30. I haven't changed it. 30 to 45, it's fine. Anyways, the 20 and the 200 SMA, once we have our zone, we know what state it's currently in, right? That's because we know it's in a neutral state or a narrow state. Being, let's see if we can get us an example real quick. Perfect. Right here, we just find the last 45 minutes of price and we highlight it. Here's the low, here's the high, but we have to get the SMAs inside of this box as well. So we got to pull it up a little bit. So now it's inside the box. What state is this? Are the SMAs? Are they wide from each other? Are they narrow? Are they neutral? What state are they? That's the second step, right? So right here we go. The state can either be narrow, wide, or neutral. Okay, so this is what we have to figure out after we put our box down. Put our box down. The arrows, I mean the SMAs, if they're not narrow, then it's at least neutral. If it's not narrow, maybe you could consider this narrow compared to this, but either way, it's not a wide state. It's a narrow and or neutral state, right? So these are, like I said, these are relatively subjective, but once you start to get the feel for it, you'll understand it. Stocks listen, from the narrow states, the neutral states, it's a high likelihood of a trending move or a powerful move in a certain direction coming from a narrow state, as you can see here, coming from the narrow state. Okay, so let's see if we can. This is why, right? Because we could see here the 20 start to immediately curl down and want to separate from this 200. The reason being is the 200 is heavier. The 200 is older. The 200 has more knowledge. The 200 is like a parent. Okay? The 20 isn't. The 20 is like a young teenager. Don't want to listen. It wants to go away from the parent naturally. That's where it wants to do. Whenever it's near the parent, it's fine. Everything's copacetic when it's near the parent. Don't even worry about it. Don't trade it. Don't even have to acknowledge that as far as entering a trade. Once it starts to say, okay, I'm done with you, and separate, then we take note and start to apply our entry event, the previous video. We have to know what entry events to look for after the SMAs become separated. Okay, all these events have to line up. Okay, everything has to line up in order for you to take the trade. Now we're gonna run through that. I'm just trying to get you familiar with what it looks like coming from a narrow state into a trending state, a wide state, for us to be able to capitalize on that. Same thing for here. We go down a little bit. I have another example right here. Look at the 200 here, right? Let me pull it up a little bit. Hold on. Boom. Sorry, there we go. Look at the 200 here. Look at the 20 here. They're close, right? You can see how close they are here. How close they are here. You can see that, right? We don't trade that because, I mean, look at price. We don't want to trade that. What we do is we wait for price to start trending down. When price starts trending downward, and then we get an entry event, or when the SMAs start trending downward, and then we get an entry event, that's when we enter. So we can see here, narrow state. Once this 20 started to curl down, really get that movement from the 200, because it's a child. This is a parent. The child's always going to try to go away from the parent. We have to keep that in mind. We just want to capitalize when it does. That's it. That's all we want to do. So we're identifying the state. If this was the last 45 minutes, hypothetically, put your box here. You have a narrow state. Once you start to trend, once you start to curl and move away from that parent, that's when we take note and we go back to the previous video of our entry event. What's our entry event criteria? Right? One of them is a color change, right? So let's say we start to curl, boom, and we're right here. Now we're just looking for an entry event to the downside. Let's see if we get one. Right here's a color change, but we wouldn't enter this because we didn't really curl here yet. We're still kind of, we want a little bit more confirmation, right? Then you get another one right here, right? So now the 20 looks like this. None of this is here. None of that's here. But this is here, right above that. So that's there. So now you're starting to get a little bit of separation. Now you're like, oh, okay. You can either choose to take this as a color change. Reason being is this green candle here got totally taken out by this red candle. You see the low of this green candle? The red candle nicked that low right there, took out. Whenever that happens, that's when you enter short or enter long, depending on the state. But right now, the state is down, as we can see, because the 20 is trending down, right? So whenever the state starts to separate, come out of that narrow state, all we look for is a color change engulfing right near that 20. That's it. So right here, you could have placed a stop loss here. You could have entered here and rode it all the way down. Or if you wasn't even confident in that, you could have waited to the next candle and it was here separated, which is even further. You can see here, this red candle, it got wicked up, but we don't wait on confirmation for color change entries. We enter as soon as they take the low of the previous candle. So as soon as this red candle got right here, I'm entering short there, and I'm putting my stop loss right above the green candle. That is my entry right here. This is just more confirmation if you didn't want this one and if you didn't want this one because you weren't 100% yet. You could have waited on the third one, right? And still got the entry. Technically, you could have waited on that one and got the entry. I'm sorry, you could have waited on that one and got the entry. You see what I'm saying? This is such a powerful strategy. You just have to know how to identify the Fab 4, how to identify the state, and wait on your move to happen with an entry event. Don't just buy, because if this was all red candles and no greens here, we wouldn't even have got in. We would have just waited for the next move, right? So it's very, very key to make sure you know what state these SMAs are in, because the moves we look for, they come from a narrow or neutral state. Okay, just like this one. This is the example from the other day that I took. The Fab 4 here. This is the last 45 minutes of price. What do we know about the Fab 4? If it opens above, if the stock opens above the Fab 4, we look for what? Longs. If it opens below the Fab 4, we look for what? Shorts. Right? That's just normal. That's just a very simple bias, right? Notice the state, because we're not going to see all of this. We're just going to see this. What state is it in? If it's not narrow, it's neutral, right? So now we're going to wait and see what price does. Boom, we got to open right here. Once we get open, our bias is short because we opened where? Underneath. Even though this is a green candle, until this gets fully taken out, my bias is always short underneath this Fab 4. Right? Next candle. Boom, I'm still short. If we take out this, then I would flip long. But I'm still short here. So what I'm doing is I'm waiting on an entry event to happen in a short direction, right? Keep in mind the SMAs. There's no entry here, right? There's no entry here because this red didn't take out this green. So I wouldn't have entered this. I would have waited. But now what do we see? We start to take note of this curl. We start to take note of this separation. This only adds to our bias to the downside. We're already short because of where we open in comparison to the Fab 4. Right? Now we're getting some red and we're getting a move in the downward direction by the 20. Okay? The 20 has to be below the 200 for shorts. For longs, the 200 has to be above the 20. I'll get into that in a different video. If the SMAs trend out of a narrow state, it's going to naturally start to go where it needs to go, and you can capitalize on that. I'll make the position video a different video. Anyways, if this red would have taken out this green, I would have entered here, but we didn't. So all we do is take note that we're curling. So now what am I doing? I'm waiting on my entry. I'm waiting on my color change engulfing at or near the 20. Green here. Boom. Right here. What happens here? The red took out the green right here, coming from a narrow state. 20's curling down, 200's above the 20. This line is our entry. We're entering short right here. No close, no confirmation, no hesitation, just execution. That's it. Place our stop right here. This is our trade. Boom. That's it. Once we've taken these lows, we're majority out here, letting the rest ride. Maybe put your stop here, put your stop at the 20. Whatever you want to do. At this point, you're golden. We've already made it. And I mean, technically, you could have grabbed here. I wouldn't have, just because of how, wide the state is starting to get. Eventually, it's going to start to, whenever, it's just like a child and a parent, guys. Parent here, child here. Child wants to go away, right? Child always wants to go away. But eventually, the child comes right back. Eventually, just like always. Right? So I just wanted to give you guys a quick example of an entry event I gave you guys yesterday, coming out of a narrow state and out of the Fab 4 that I gave you guys on the first video. So this is just kind of a third video, putting those first two together, putting the 45-minute Fab 4 together with your bias, then putting the entry event together with the open of price and the where your SMAs go as far as wide state and all. You know entry events, you know the Fab 4, now you know when to trade in the wider state when the 20 starts to curl from the 200. Up or down, does not matter. So if this would have happened, boom, like this, and the 20 started doing this, and then the 20 started curling up, and then we got some of these, that's enter long, and now we're going up. So it's the same thing, but the 20 has to be above the 200, and the 200 will be below the 20 for the longs, and then vice versa for shorts. 200 needs to be up, 20 needs to be down. Well, I'll break that down later, but that's pretty much it for this one. I just wanted to show you guys the first two videos kind of in action. All right. See y'all later.